think I don't recognize my grandson's Twitter.
I'll now call the meeting to order at 7:30 p.m. Welcome. We're going to call the roll. Mr. Clerk?
All right, good evening. Trustee Gail Schreisenberg. Oh. Forget. Supervisor Gail Schreisenberg.
Here.
Trustee Kate Seminelli.
Here.
Assessor Jane Churchwell.
Here.
Trustee Elliot Robin. Here. Trustee Stephen Mosier. Here. Trustee Daniel Rubin.
Here.
Administrator Larisha Hopkins.
Here.
Madam Supervisor, we have a quorum for business.
Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A quick supervisor's report since our last meeting. It's been a busy time taking advantage of the gorgeous weather. For instance, some of our agencies had their annual walks. So I was able to participate in peer services, step up for recovery, and our places, Race to Our Place, both were extremely well attended and both had various resources available to those communities. So the addiction services, as well as to those with developmental disabilities, and also gave me a chance to catch up with some of the leadership and staff for those various entities. Also a lot of participation in the chambers. Today was the annual meeting for the Winnetka Northfield Glencoe Chamber of Commerce, where I got to give an update on the township's activities and thank our business community who has provided food donations, and remind them that employees of township businesses are eligible for the food pantry, as well as give them some updates on the Northwest Compass program. So that was great this morning. Also participated in the Wilmette Chamber of Commerce, Wilmette, for their Winnetka, for their wine walk, along with President Plunkett for Wilmette and Congressman Schneider. So all over the chambers of commerce. Again, we got to visit some of our businesses that have been great supporters to our agencies. We've been now getting, if anyone has checked out Food Hall, it's a new restaurant in Wilmette in the same building as Valley Lodge. It's the same room that we had the holiday party in last year. But now they've been donating recently, so we're able to go there, say thank you to them. They are microwavable, chef-inspired meals.
You can't dine in, but you can carry out.
Right, like I had Fabio Vivani's from Top Chef's gnocchi. Highly recommend.
I'll go.
Yes. Yep, and got to show off the YWCA shop to the congressman because it is Domestic Violence Prevention Month, and they give their money to the YWCA's domestic violence shelter, and also showed him Ava Deans, who's obviously been a huge supporter of the food pantry. Donuts are downstairs. We hosted our newest state rep here, Tracy Katz-Mull, who came by for a tour of the food pantry. She covers a bit of Glencoe. So if you recall, she got appointed when Jonathan Carroll stepped down. I also represented the township at Robin Gable and the Cook County Forest Preserves tour over in Winnetka of the Skokie Lagoons, which was very fascinating. If you've never stopped and like read actually the historical stuff, very cool, also very weird, but like none of that is natural. I had no idea. The whole thing would have been a marsh. None of those lagoons were there. Crazy. It's all World War, it's all CCC, Conservation Corps. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah, humans.
By the way,
right? So sometimes you got to stop, not just smell the roses, or in this case, the wildflowers, but also read the historical marker. Also did some catch-ups with Jocelyn and North Shore Legal Aid Clinic, as we were trying to find out why we really aren't getting a lot of people using our monthly digital legal aid clinic. So I had a little discussion with them about how we can improve those numbers. They don't seem as concerned because we are still seeing the numbers of service, just not on those digital days. So tried not to take that. Anyway, any questions on supervisor's report? Okay,
Was that a wine walk?
Wine walk,
Is it drink wine?
yes.
Okay. You drink wine?
You drink wine as you go on, yeah. Each store has its own wine. And now my agenda doesn't want to open, so that's fine. I believe we are up for clerk's report.
I have no.
Approval.
Approval of the minutes, yeah, so. Once my computer wants to wake up.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Can I just make one correction?
Oh, after a second, then,
I'm sorry.
yep, second,
Second.
all right, now discussion.
Bottom of page 1, under clerk's report, the penultimate line, I think that there's a typo. It should be co dash at the end, not C zero.
Right here,
Oh, yeah, thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other edits?
Thank you.
Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes with the one edit, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, they are approved. Now, clerk's report.
And I have no report.
Okay.
Other than
Financial reports. Did I get an email from James?
No.
All right, we'll wait for James. So do I have a motion to table the financial report?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Verification of claims, I'm also going to table since I like to have him go first. All those in favor of is there a motion to table?
So
Verification.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, James just emailed me, he'll be 15 minutes late.
Perfect, so we'll be back. Assessor's report, Dan,
I don't have a report either.
we're so efficient.
That item there was simply, for the record, was simply me sending Larissa a list of the assessor salaries in Cook County, because those are the relevant ones for everybody. But I had no intention of touching them in the slightest, so.
Yeah,
Just for her information.
we love information. Okay. We're now in line for public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Committee application. We have been provided with one committee application from Amanda Sunt for the Mental Health Committee. Is there any discussion of Amanda's application?
Is that up on Civic Clerk?
Yeah, it should be.
Double
I'm looking
checking.
for it right now.
I don't think I found that.
Oh, no.
I didn't have it. So,
Okay,
I mean, I'm sure she's.
she is, but one second.
Wonderful.
It's not here. Give us a moment. I'm gonna go ahead and email it to everyone.
I will, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, that could be one of my
Mm,
new whoopsies for using this.
We're getting used to it. It's a cool program. It's just taking us a moment.
So while we're doing that, is the mental health committee the one, are we one short on that? And,
Or at least one short.
okay. Yep, cool.
Okay. We'll give you a second, so, all those, is there a motion to table committee application?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, tabled. We have no old business, new business. I'm going to ask that we table all salary discussions until the next meeting. We have the ability to do that. So the next meeting will still be timely.
And I kind of think that's a good idea because we've got a lot of information to digest. I've come up with some figures for a few of the offices that I think need to be bumped. But we just got the material in the last few days, so it would be helpful to spend a little bit more time over it.
That makes sense. Is there such a oh, yes.
As we consider these,
Mhm.
I was unable to find a list of the size by number of residents of Illinois townships. I was able to kind of look up a few at a clip,
Mhm.
but it would be helpful to know in terms of that stuff. As we're looking at this, so that, it would kind of be helpful, I think.
There are 2020 census numbers on all these compilations that I received.
Oh, yeah.
We have
Yeah.
township size.
So, but that's not all the townships though. So
No.
like, for instance, on the assessor list,
Right,
I was able to, figure out a handful of them, but not every, and listen, I can spend all day Googling this
Right.
stuff, but if there is one place, with toy, for instance, I tried to play around on the website, but I didn't know if there was one place where all of this is kind of collated.
it's interesting, I thought that population is a factor to consider, but I thought even a more important factor would be define part-time. Is it, is it 3 days a week, is it 1 day a week?
Exactly.
There are so many variables, but one thing that stood out to me, that overwhelmingly, is that both in the category of, supervisor and assessor, we are woefully low and in need of remedying it. It's just, it hasn't been done, I think, since 2012, 2011. It's been a dozen years since we visited this issue, and we wanna make sure that those very important positions, in particular, supervisor and assessor, are properly salaried and incented. So if our very capable present office holders of those two positions should move on, we want to make sure that we're competitive and that we have good salaries, and ours are low. So we have to do some adjusting. I'm certainly gonna move to adjust. The clerk's office, I found, given the requirements of that job, I found our salary to be in line. I'm not gonna recommend a bump in clerk. But I think an assessor and trustee, I'm prepared to recommend rather significant bumps for what it's worth.
And just a counter argument, Elliot.
Yeah.
When you increase the size of salaries, I think you make the position more political. And I think that it becomes a matter of the way it's set up now, the salaries are based on some sense of volunteerism. If you create a salary that's actually a compensable salary, I think it will become much more competitive and therefore political in terms of running for election. And I think that I heard a quote from, I think it was the Derby, that said, the larger the pot, the more the problems. So that's my counter argument, is that I totally accept that we're undervalued. I think as you raise those numbers, you get into other variables. That's all I have to say at this point.
And something for us to think about, obviously, between now and next meeting.
Okay. So, so the additional information we're looking for, if there's particular townships that you think are relatively comparable that you would like more information for, we can definitely obtain. Sally Toys analysis
Yeah.
didn't have everything
It
in
doesn't
it.
have, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll certainly talk to them, but that's gonna be something they have to fix 4 years from now, right? Cause they did that in like May or June, yeah.
I figured out that Thornton is the largest with 185,000. Proviso is the third largest with 155,831. Worth is the fourth largest, 152,239. We have 56,768. It's just a couple of numbers to throw out, thinking about the number of people that we're serving.
Isn't also a relevant issue in the budget that the individual townships work with?
There are a number of relevant data points that could be considered, should be considered in this. And we can pick them apart, next month. It's just, some things that I was thinking about.
Yeah, it's really quite interesting to see the different numbers here, as far as size goes. So we're larger for the state, but then compared to the others in our area, we're one of the smaller because, we have our mermaid population.
Right.
So, who don't vote. Okay. All right. Well, is there a motion to table the salaries?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Okay. Whistleblower protection policy.
And I don't know, as a point of order,
Yes,
I would like to consider, item 17 immediately following item 13. That's the adoption of the whistleblower policies right after our discussion of the whistleblower protection policy.
absolutely. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of amending the agenda to move 17 immediately after this action item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, seeing none. Okay. The whistleblower protection policy. So if you recall, we were unable to find policies that were likely passed by previous boards because we had no digitization of these policies. So they probably exist somewhere in a binder or file folder. Oh, you think the ethics is the only one that was formal?
Formal ordinance, we.
It's like a good idea to just pass
We
them.
just didn't operate them.
They weren't doing
Right,
as many.
Stefan? We didn't have all these policies.
No, I don't recall.
It's not that they were negligent, Gail, it's just that they didn't have the expertise in the formulation.
I don't remember what was the policy of any sort.
It was, the only one was the ethics ordinance, and I remember that because that was passed within your first term. But that, and we had Joe Fell, the collector, so it was way back.
Oh, of
The
Fell.
Ethics officer,
Of the
Fell,
bill,
yeah.
of
Jim,
across
Joe was our ethics. That's great.
Gail, based on the employee acknowledgement, at the end is the, interpretation that this will be kept in the personnel file.
Exactly.
Okay. And, then I just had one nit in Roman numeral 5 at the title. There shouldn't be a colon. There are no colons anywhere else. But I am otherwise, amenable to this.
And Gail, who drafted this?
I did.
And did we have our legal counsel?
Council seems to have gone through them. Cause he sent me a message with one nit from one of them. So thanks to him, I'm gonna make sure.
And I remind the board that we are blessed to have one of the best employment attorneys in the city, in the state, sitting right here as our supervisor. So even though whistleblowing has been around forever, whistleblowing policies are kind of new and cutting edge. And it's certainly the right thing to do to incent and to protect whistleblowing, because that keeps everybody
Great, thank you.
above board and honest. I mean, we need to have an open, transparent situation, and whistleblowing, and this concept of it is very consistent with transparency and doing the right thing. And calling people out when they don't do the right thing.
Thank you. Yeah, and I certainly don't reinvent the wheel. You know, I looked at other policies from other townships, so, and we have a wonderful group of supervisors that are that share a lot of things. So, which is helpful. Okay, so, is there a motion to adopt the whistleblower protection policy?
So moved.
Any, is there a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the whistleblower protection policy with the edit noted by trustee Casale McNally, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it is adopted. All right. Identity protection policy, which we know is really hot right now.
Sorry,
Have the
just,
resolution.
yeah, just
Oh,
regarding the resolution.
Oh, the resolution.
We just need to change the, date of approval at the
Yep.
very bottom to the 8th of October,
2020.
but I am otherwise.
Okay, wait a second. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution with the amended date?
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
Sorry, so.
Who was the second on that?
Me.
There it is. Gotta get credit. Okay, sorry, thank you. All right, now we can protect our identities.
No, now we can protect our whistleblowers.
I thought we just did.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I've already
We haven't
protected
voted
it
on this one yet.
right?
Vote on it.
All right, whistleblowers.
I will protect any whistle.
Thank you for serving.
So similar question regarding the identity protection policy, has council reviewed?
Just gonna check to see if this is the one I need. Like I said, he simply took a look at our agenda. But I did model off of other townships, identity protection policy. Look at the statute. Seems like the way to do it. So, as we know, we're, have a lot of personally identifiable information here. We've taken a lot of steps in the township recently to protect the data, including the encrypted forms. But we want to make sure that we're following best practices regarding, PII. So, are there any changes or edits to the identity protection policy?
And again, I think it's a good cutting edge thing to have, that it tells it tells our constituents that we're concerned about it and that we're diligent about it, and we're trying to protect identity. And when we have a policy that incents you to do the right thing and to follow it.
Anything come with the fishing expedition this morning?
Today is. I think we're getting pretty good. Everyone has completed their cybersecurity training this year, so that's great. If you recall, one of the decennial ideas was to send fake phishing emails as tests, so you'll never know.
So Jan, I trust you with all my credit cards.
Yeah, but I'm not getting you any gift cards.
That was tricky because it said emergency and then it said it was from you. I didn't know the other person.
I get a lot from my husband, like sitting next to me, like they're like, it's from Loftus and Iceberg HR. I'm like, that's David. So they're getting really sophisticated though. We get a lot from the rabbi at our synagogue. Yeah,
Wow.
because the older parishioners, yeah, and it's someone they trust. So it's really quite upsetting. All right, is there a motion to, did we already adopt identity protection policy? Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we have adopted. Okay. I'm gonna bring up Michael's signature to be a little easier. Oh, here's James.
I'm assuming that we've tabled the salary study resolution, considering that we've
Yes.
tabled the salary.
Yes. All right. James, I'm giving you a second to get on screen, but you're already a host. Okay.
Okay, sorry, just bear with me just 1 minute. I'm just bringing up the reports now and then I'll
Okay,
get on camera here.
give us a second.
Turn this audio, use this and turn the audio to the, is it already on? Oh, select the speaker. Right there. Yeah,
Echo.
and now we should.
Can you test, James?
Yep, here we go.
Fabulous. All right, we're heading back to our financial report.
All right, everybody. Sorry I'm late. I had too many meetings going on at once. But let's walk through the 7 months ended September 30th. I'm gonna blow this up a little bit. So again, we're 58% of the way through our fiscal year, and revenues look good. Again, we've already had a beat in terms of property taxes as the county is on time. So we're 3% better than what we budgeted at about 3.6 million. Replacement tax, we know that's a little slower. That's at 47%. The state did recoup some of that monies, but we do get about 8 payments a year. So more to come in terms of replacement tax. Interest is already a beat at 41%. That's the good news. Obviously, the bad news is the Fed just cut 50 basis points. So we're gonna use our managed account. Sorry if I'll do to find, the best bang for the buck and to try to maybe lock in some of these rates today that we can hold a little bit longer to get, these good rates above 4% still. Passports fees look good at 69%. Then a little bit of other income bringing us to 3.7 million in revenue. 3.7 million is the budget. We're a little bit higher than that at 1%. So already a beat on the top line, which is always good news. And then as we go into expenditures, again, just a few pink categories, which just means we're higher than where we are in the year, but a lot of times that's just the timing of when the expense goes out the door. Again, childcare services, we had some expenditures, so that's at 79%. Contractual services at 62%. Building town hall expenses at 75, and then financial assistance at 65. So those are just a little bit elevated from that 58% of where we are in the year, but a lot of that having to do with the timing. We'll go into that a little bit more detail, just to show you where those timing effects are taking place. But in terms of personnel, again, we're at about 58% there for both personnel and elected officials, so we're right on the number with where we are in the year. All in 1.7 million, 3.9 million is the budget. We're at 44% in total. We're going to be top heavy though. Obviously, all the tax money's in for the year. We're 2 million in surplus, but we're going to spend that money down over the remaining months through February. We started with 1.9 million. We're at about 4 million in ending fund balance. And again, strategically, we've planned to spend down the GA fund balance. Again, that avoids that tax objection. So that's working nicely. As you can see, we have a negative and then more money into the town fund where we can use it for our various programming. In terms of the distribution, taxes at 96%, replacement tax 1, interest about 2, passport fees 0.6, other 0.1. And then as we look at the expenditure distribution, agency programs at 32, childcare services 8, projects 8, contractual services 8, assessor 3, building town hall about 6, financial assistance 13, pantry 6, personnel 16, elected officials 1.5. You can see that it's a beat already on the revenue side, as all the tax money's in for the year and some better than expected interest, and then expenditures trending below budget as of right now, as we talked about 44%. But again, some of that also due to timing. So we go through the detail. I'm not going to dive too much into agency. As you can see, those are all still at 33%, same as last month.
And the second tranche is coming in a week. So.
Yep.
We cut those. Yeah, they've been cut. Yep.
Yep. More to come next month. But then child care services, you can see we made our summer camp scholarships contribution at 75,000. So that's paid in full. Before and after school is at about 72. So that drives obviously the number for those child care services up over where we are in the year, given some of those expenditures. The Oakland Scholarship one-time expenditure has been made at 100,000. And then again, everything else here pretty consistent. We're over just slightly on some of these line accounts. Again, the audit, we had a little bit more audit work this year than originally planned for. So that's up about 11%. Contractual services, though, overall just up slightly at 62%. But again, the audit's complete for the year. It looks like we've got a little bit more website maintenance than maybe originally expected. But again, these are items that sometimes go over. As long as we're under by fund, you know, there won't be any issues in terms of the audit or red flags in the audit. Outside of that, most of these look very good. Obviously, and the insurance has been paid in full, so that's close to 100%. And then again, we're right back into that 58% or where we are in the year on all of our personnel and elected officials compensation. I drive down now here to the our current bank balances. Again, 3.9 million across all accounts. If you remember, last month we made some transfers to our managed or brokered accounts at Schwab, managed by Sarah Duty. You can see about 1.5 million now for the Town Schwab Fund and GA at about 862,000. So again, those are going to really drive the investment income number, which is already a beat for the year, but rates are coming down. So again, this is, you know, kind of our opportunity to lock in for longer on some of those investments. And I know Ed or John will come out and they give us, you know, that investment report on how we're doing in terms of the portfolio. Again, everything very safe. It's all fixed income. But you know, they're going to be able to manage it to get us the best returns possible, which they've done a very nice job. Outside of that, I don't have anything else to report. I'll leave the bill list up for you to approve, but I'd be happy to take any questions from the board.
Thank you, James, for another excellent presentation.
And if anyone wants to take a look at the investment reports in your packet as well. But you will see that the daycare scholarships are included in the check register, in the detail. Any questions on any of the expenditures?
I was kind of surprised that the back to school supplies didn't hit, you know, kind of 100% at this point. And I didn't know if Jean had any kind of thoughts on that you're aware of.
Let me see here.
I think that it hit 88, 89%.
looks like we just had fewer people who were qualified.
I mean, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's based on free and reduced lunch.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, so we kept the gift cards at the same level.
Cool.
Yeah, but they're all out. It actually was quite a headache for poor Larisha, so, so thank you, Larisha.
They're making it harder to get that free and reduced lunch too, so
Oh,
I think that they're changing,
Requirements.
the requirements.
I think a lot of requirements on this federal programs were relaxed during COVID.
Yeah,
Got it,
Yeah.
sure. All right, fair.
Yep.
If that's going, a going forward situation, then we'll need to consider it as part of budget too.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yep,
that's a smaller thing admittedly, but you know.
Oh, yeah,
smaller things
yeah.
add up.
exactly. Any other comments or questions? Okay. I did want to note that the childcare scholarships, we had been having one of our agency partners administering for a very long time. I don't know the reason why that was happening. It exceeds my time at the township. We brought it in-house this year. It seems underutilized to me. We're gonna try to make some extra efforts next year to encourage people to use it. We obviously increased our thresholds. And we did have, you know, an area of inter-office synergy that I just wanted to bring to the board's attention. I don't know if Jana's even heard about this. But one of the applicants was questionable, and there were some red flags that were raised. We couldn't get a hold of the J-care provider. So Jeannie had Len look up the property, and sure enough, that person does not live there, you know, could not be living there. So we did refer it to the Kenilworth Police, where they were claiming they live. But, you know, I think it is important to have those checks that we can provide in-house. So I'm glad we did that.
Did we refer it to Kenilworth because we thought it was like a fraud, an attempt to perpetrate a
Yeah.
fraud?
There was no such address.
Okay.
Mhm.
And do we know if the police charged anybody?
I don't know, but they confirmed on their side that that person doesn't exist.
Not at that address.
Obviously, I can't control whether they charge or not, but
But we wouldn't necessarily, having called it to their attention and decided not to fund it, we wouldn't necessarily sign a complaint, would we? If we-
I would, yeah.
Okay.
It's a fraud on, for it's public assistance fraud,
Yeah.
which is a crime, so,
Okay.
Is this someone that had applied for funding in the past?
no.
Okay.
So I don't believe we've given them a scholarship in the past, so. Yep. And my sleuth thing says they live in Rockford. So,
Interesting.
okay.
In the system, we had a case of awful
Yeah,
fraud.
it's not.
Yeah, that we caught, yeah.
That's good.
Exactly. Yeah, we check everything.
Okay,
And
that's
Jeannie
good.
is extremely fastidious with these, so, okay.
Could that have been a test potentially?
No.
Okay.
I like what you're thinking. I do not believe so. Okay, yeah, because they wanted to only talk by email, I know. Anyway. But now we're in line for an approval of the verification of the claims. Trustee Moser.
I move to accept the claims for the town fund from September 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2024, as reflected in the financial report presented this evening, October 8th, 2024.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Okay, trustee Cassell Natale,
Yes.
trustee Robbins,
Yes.
trustee Rubin,
Yes.
trustee Moser,
Yes.
supervisor Eisenberg.
Yes. And James, did you want to start discussing the tax levy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, can you give me make me the
Oh,
whole
yes,
thing?
we have it.
I gave it back to you, but I did that too quickly.
Thank you.
Great. All right, so tonight we'll also talk about the 2024 proposed tax levy. Just like we did last year, again, why this is so important, it makes up 94% of our total revenue. So again, if we do nothing all year, this is the one thing we absolutely have to do. A CPI has come down. So we know we had those 2 years of very high CPIs at 7 and 6.5. Now it's down to 3, 4. We are expecting the EAV to decline. Again, we're in the second year after a reassessment year. Usually you see objections to valuations, and so the EAV does decline, has historically done so. New growth estimated about 36 million. That's kind of the 5-year average. But right now, it doesn't look like we're going to need to go anywhere close to the 5% that would draw the Truth in Taxation Act or the need to publish or have a hearing. So we put together 3 options, kind of like we did last year, for you to take a look at tonight to make your determination. Just to kind of, take a stroll down memory lane here. Obviously, here you can see, CPI or inflation tends to track around 2%, and that's the Fed mandate. That's why they increased interest rates to drive inflation down. That's working. We're at 3.4, but again, last year it was at 7 and 6.5. But again, not a whole lot going on in terms of new growth. There is a good amount of new growth, but again, we're not in the need to capture all of it. And again, down below that, you can just see kind of the relationship between the rate and the EAV. Again, we pretty much held the line in terms of our rate. From last year, we were at 0.0568, and in 2023, 0.0586. So again, pretty much the same, just a slight increase on the rate, not a huge overall effect. If you remember, we make up a very small portion of the overall tax bill. We're at about 0.8% on this particular bill. So again, just something to keep in mind. Obviously, the village and schools here make up some of the bigger slices in terms of who residents are paying taxes to. And then here's kind of what took place last year. Again, we increased the levies by about 1%, and again, we did have loss and cost factor. Take that up 3%. That happens automatically from the county unless we choose not to do so. We'd have to file an ordinance to do that. And we also get the PA 102-0519, which is, remember, that's the assessment bill that was passed where we get money based on reduced assessments. So all in, we totaled about 3.6 million across both town and GA funds, which was about 4.18% above the prior year. And again, even though we levied at 1, the loss and cost factor always kicks in, and then we collect about 99% of the extension every year. New growth, you can see you've had pretty significant new growth within the township. Again, that would only be something if we needed to really go out high in terms of the levy that we could try to capture outside of the cap. Remember, or outside of CPI. Those are the 2 components you can capture with any levy, is the CPI and new growth. And then the tax rate, again, was maintained pretty much from the year before, and the increase to EAV was 1%. So you can see in the prior year, we had the reassessment, went up 27%. Now in the following year, 1, and I do expect it to come down another 8%. You can see that kind of trend happened, in 21's extension. You see it's down 8% after flat and then up 6 the year before. So here's some of the scenarios we put together. The first option is just to take town and GA up 1% over the prior year's extension. Again, we're not going to get capped back in any of these scenarios. Total funds would be about 145,000 in new money. The town would get 126, GA about 19. So again, it'll continue our strategy to try to, bring down some of the GA fund balance. There is no publication required in this scenario, and it would take us up about 4% overall, just because that 3% would be added to the levies, which we would start at 1% above the prior year's extension. So that's where the 4 comes in. You can see we'd levy about 3.6 million in total. That's the yellow box there. That's the ask. And then the extension of the dollars we would be set to receive would be about 3.7 million. Option 2 was just to keep the funds at last year's extension. Again, the 3% would kick in there for loss and cost, getting us about 108,000 in new money. That would be about 94,000 for the town fund, GA 14. Again, not reduced in terms of PTEL, as we're not going, after the full 3.4% plus the new growth. So you can see that's a PTEL factor of 1. So in this scenario, about 3.6 million becomes the total levy request, and we would capture about 3.7 million, which is a 3% increase. And again, that's the loss and cost factor, as we would levy flat, or just what we received last year in the extension, and then the loss and cost factor takes us up that 3%. The last one we wanted to show was just to go down in both town and GA 1% under the prior year's extension. This gets us about $71,000 in new money. The town would see 62, GA 9. Again, same scenario here. We'd ask for about 3.56 million, and we would get about 3.67 million. And again, that's the 3%. So overall, we're going to get about 2% in terms of an increase, as we would be at 99% of the prior year, and plus the 3% to take us to a 2% increase year on year in terms of the extension. So we wanted to bring these options to the board to again, talk about as we start to look at next year's budget and what the needs are going to be for the township.
Wonderful. Okay, so we don't have this on our agenda for a decision. So on your next agenda, I'll be making a recommendation. But is there any discussion? And then we'll be taking a vote.
In the past, recent past, to be safe, we were giving a 1% to the township fund and a 0% to the GA. So I was wondering, there's none of that in these options. And I was wondering if that's something we should additionally consider. That we're obviously, because we get the extension, we're obviously getting a certain percentage anyhow. And that's how we always adjusted for it. And GA is pretty heavy these days in terms of what's in there. So that would just be a thought on my part.
Right.
Just to add, kind of my 2 cents, the things that I am thinking about, are that we have, I think I'm right on this, we have more, agency and program requests this year than we did last year.
Yes.
And, I know that our building, it kind of calls on our purse related to the building are increasing as we are dealing with an older building. So it's just, those are a couple of things that I've got in my head as I'm looking at this.
Both good points.
I kind of feel that we are very flush. We've done well with our investment income. I think we're in a very strong position, and I'd like to consider a fourth option of going 2% under the extension on both the town fund and the GA fund. I'm wondering.
Well, you guys are making it fun, because everyone's got very different opinions on this.
I remember when the township percentage of the total parents bill was closer to about 0.6%. Or 0.6%, and that was maybe 8 years ago when I first ran, and now we're creeping up to 0.8%. I think with the surpluses that we've been showing now, these strong surpluses, and very much keeping in mind that we have increasing demands by our agencies and we're gonna be bumping some salaries, I think we should still be able to consider the option of going 2% under, which will still result in a net gain of maybe 1%.
So looking on page 3, you can see that, so 2017, the year you're thinking was 0.0567. And then current is 0.0586.
I thought we were trending up to 0.8.
0.58.
I saw it on James's pie chart, and that must be wrong.
Oh, I see.
That's the percentage of the total bill. Supervisor, I think you're speaking to the tax rate itself.
I am, yeah, okay.
So I think 0.8% is trending upwards, and I just feel that the taxpayers, we really need to preserve our, we have to be good representatives and good custodians, and we are being very, very cautious. I'm not saying that that's where my allegiance is gonna be, but I would like us also to consider that fourth option of going 2% under on both town and GA.
If we go too low, don't we jeopardize that 5% that you're allowed to get total?
James, there's always
No.
been a discussion about, can you tell us more, because I know that was always a conception I had in previous years.
Yeah, no, there's no issue there. Every year kind of you start fresh with what you can levy at. I think, what you have to look for is, if you don't maximize what you can get, then there is a compounding issue in the future of just, you always start at the prior year's extension. So when you go down, If you go down, in any year, obviously then that would, you would lose that money in the subsequent years if you didn't go higher. If that makes sense. So it's more of a compounding issue, but we run more on need. We're in good financial shape. So I think, we can put together all these different scenarios to kind of take a look, but I think the bigger food for thought is just what the needs are going to be programming wise and salary wise moving forward, just to make sure we can continue to keep ourselves in a good financial position.
Gail, as I process this over the next month, do you feel comfortable sharing where you're leaning?
I'm leaning towards flat.
Mhm.
Maybe it's the Midas in me.
Okay.
But happy to have one-on-one discussions, so not to offend the Open Meetings Act.
And what happened is that when we look at the budget of 3.489, we actually received 3.579. We received 90,000 more than we were expecting, or 89,600 over budget, and 102.57%. I mean, I think in some ways we have to give the taxpayers some credit for the surpluses that we're showing.
So I'll present a recommendation at the next meeting for discussion. Obviously, we have in the past changed whatever the supervisor's recommendation was during discussion, but that's what discussion is for. Okay, thank you so much, James. Any other questions before we let him go? Seeing none, thank you. Have a good night.
I can
All right,
read
thanks,
over,
everybody. Have a great night.
I can read over Amanda's application really quickly if you want me to.
Sure. I'm just gonna,
That's just a presentation.
it was just a presentation.
Okay, and then in December, we approve.
In November, we're gonna,
So we fix it and then approve it and see.
right, so as long as we don't go over the 5%, we don't have to publish yet. Oh, it's fun to publish.
And there's a certain lower threshold that we'd have to publish to, wouldn't we? If we went,
we were just
Yeah.
yeah, but we're not gonna go down that road either.
Okay, so now the application is now in your board packet.
Okay, so Amanda Sant is the person who is applying. She is from Glencoe. She is applying for either disability or mental health. Steve wants to put her on mental health. Professional, civic, or social groups in which she has been active. Misericordia Women's Board, Cole Children's Museum Women's Board, Crow Island PTO. I have had 20+ marketing career managing large budgets for companies like Learning Resources and Crate and Barrel. Deep expertise in evaluating opportunities and allocating funds. Past civic activities, a co-chair for Misericordia Gala that raised over $200,000 in one night, and a co-chair for Touch a Truck. There isn't much else besides that. She went to Miami University. She got her MBA at DePaul, and she is self-employed.
So they used to live in Winnetka.
Yes.
How long has she been in the township for?
She actually didn't put that here.
Did she sign it?
She did sign.
Her credentials sound outstanding. I would recommend her appointment.
Any additional discussion?
I just think it's great that Larisha read it out loud, so we'll put in the minutes, and so that anyone listening can know the caliber and the credentials of people that are volunteering to be on our committee. Cause that's always a question of but these are the people that wanna help for free.
I certainly appreciate people who understand the fundraising side, since there's a lot of discussion of the budgets, so, yep. For work with Misericordia, that will be very helpful. Okay, all those in favor of approving Amanda's application to the Mental Health Funding and Oversight Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, she has been approved. Thank you. We're back in our regularly scheduled programming. At travel expenses, very exciting. So this is the toy model ordinance, with, I don't think I made any changes to.
Section 1,
Mhm.
there's a comma after Roman numeral 1, it shouldn't be there.
Comma after Roman numeral 1. No, period, Roman numeral
Oh,
one,
period.
it shouldn't be there.
Section 2. Subsection 2B. We need a colon at the end.
Yes, we do.
Page 2, first full paragraph, we need a period at the end.
Section 3, you said section 3.
Sorry, page 2,
Okay,
the first full paragraph, it's just a sentence, they all in documents. Then we need a period at the end, I think.
Mhm.
And then we need to change both dates to
Yes.
today and a comma after October in both instances.
eight. And what was the comma after what?
After, when we change the date in both instances, we need a comma after the month.
Got it. Great, any other changes? Okay. Just continuing our process of kind of hooking our policies to, you know, larger governmental policies, so we're not reinventing wheels.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, approved. We don't want to have any of the issues some other governments have had.
Do you want me to make the changes on this? I didn't know this letter had these dates.
Yes, we'd originally posted it last.
Yeah,
month. Yep, so we hadn't made those changes. Yep, good point.
so do you want to wait to do this?
Yeah,
until
we'll still
afterwards?
add, yes. Okay. All right, childcare scholarship policy. So part of this came from that, just, you know, going through the applications this year for the first time since they were before that, out of our, with one of our agencies doing all the work. And getting frustrated about a lack of any kind of real, criteria. So essentially I was saying, so what were the determinations? They said, well, between 25 and 40, like how? So we needed something. So certainly we were having informal criteria, but I'd like to make them formal, for fairness, and consistency. Kate did a great job of rewriting the concepts, the concepts of a plan.
No, the concepts are exactly the same, it's just.
Much better.
Made it look adult.
Thank you. Yep, because it was more like, I'm frustrated and writing this out.
The two things that I had questions on, like as I was drafting, in part, part C2. Are applications accepted and reviewed on a rolling basis? or
They're
is it-
not.
Okay.
There's a
accepted
deadline.
as on a rolling basis? They're
Yes.
accepted, or, you know, you can just kind of.
There is a deadline, so applications. So say are accepted and reviewed upon the application deadline. As published,
Applications are reviewed following
following
the
application deadline.
application deadline.
Mhm.
And applicants will be notified, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And then. Sorry, I skipped the other one, back up at A1.
A1, yep.
To be eligible to receive assistance, the applicant. Does the child have to reside in the township as well?
You know, that has not come up, but you know what, it could.
Yeah, so it's just
Um,
something to consider. I don't know what the
absolutely
answer is, but it's something to consider. Cause it was clear from the notes that the applicant has to reside in the township. But I'm thinking of a situation in which for instance, parent A is the custodial legal guardian,
Mhm.
does not live in the district, in the township. Parent B is non-custodial, but is also a legal
Legal
guardian, lives within our borders and is partially financially responsible for the child. What do we do in that situation? I don't care either way, I just want us to be clear.
That's true. I think it is meant for those who reside in the township, right?
That's what I would suspect.
Or those children who reside.
Children
Yes.
residents, yeah,
So, I would suggest getting rid of the brackets.
yeah.
What if somebody sent their children outside of the township for school, for instance? So then at that point, they're,
Well, yes, we do not, we
So
don't
this
pay
isn't for-
tuition,
this isn't-
right?
I know you don't, but even so, they could request scholarship for other matters perhaps, or not, or is it just tuition?
Right, so it's only for childcare, before and after school care and,
Summer camp.
summer camp. Some of the summer camps are outside of the township. That does occur, but you'll see that we're, giving some preference,
Right, that's dealt with in award section B.
yeah. Cause I was getting also frustrated with very expensive camps and then saying, okay, well, like, it's hard for me to say a percentage of the camp's
Right.
tuition is fair, right?
So potentially attending summer camp outside of the township, because there's a limited number of camps within the township, but going to school within the township.
They have to reside within the.
They have to
township.
reside.
Reside in the
Yeah.
township, but potentially going to school outside of the
Yeah.
township.
Right,
So I did see, in your note scale, you have something that says applicants must have applied for financial aid through their child care program.
yes.
I don't.
Oh, did I not put that in?
I don't see that,
I'm sorry, that was my
but
bad.
I may
Let's see where we should put
be
that.
missing it. And
Um,
also how licensed providers are defined, is that in there?
It is,
Okay.
under, A3,
Three.
so.
Yep.
By facility and or program licensed by the, Illinois DCFS.
And that's how we
So I
have been
carry
doing
that
it, yeah.
defined term.
Okay, what should be worded on it?
Um.
Maybe, I think that's under eligibility, 6. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, also make lowercase 5,
Right.
at the very beginning of, sorry, A5,
A5,
just lowercase.
oh, yeah, mhm.
Should we consider tabling this one, cleaning it up, tabling this one and voting on it at the next meeting?
We're almost done.
So for 6, sorry, for A6. I would propose adding the language, the applicant must Danielle, what was the language?
So
that I
applicants must
Oh,
have
oh, oh.
applied for financial
Yeah.
aid through their child care program.
if offered.
Mhm.
Action for Children is, I believe what Jean said, they should apply for first to see if they're eligible for that. That's the state program. Or maybe they're calling it something different now, but from what I remember, it was Action for Children.
Okay, so I'm writing 6, the applicant must have applied for financial aid through Action for Children and or their child care program as applicable. Any other edits? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the child care scholarship assistance policy as revised?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Just to keep things clear and fair.
And then we'll see for a minute, kind of say the first on the- there's everything on the net and the website.
Oh, yeah, we'll have it on the website.
Or will it be in like one clear section, with all the words?
Oh, yeah.
There's one
It'll
up
be under
there.
our policies,
That-
yeah.
It'll be under the policy section, but also will be on the childcare page. Yep.
Okay, so. Okay, but the law is one and then you can just. no, okay.
You'll run the final version by Jean just to let her take a peek at it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make these corrections tonight and I'll send it to you.
All right. Where are we? All right, we've received committee liaison reports. We are in line for committee liaison reports. Let's start with Life Stages Funding Committee, trustee Cassell McNally.
That's me. So we had our first committee meeting on Tuesday, September 24th, at which we decided the rest of the meeting dates for our committee and began to review applications we received for funding so far this year. I did note, as many of our other committee members did, that there were a number of incomplete answers. I know that I mentioned this to you guys, but in this meeting, I'm mentioning it here. Because text boxes did not automatically expand. Steve noted he was aware of this. It seems to be an issue with Adobe. And as such, it may be worth considering if this is the same software we use next year. The remainder of this meeting, of the meetings for this committee are noted in paragraph 2 of Steve's report, which appears at the end, towards the end of the packet. That's it.
Okay. And were there any major changes in from any of your agencies?
Not tons, because we've got youth stuff, there's youth stuff. And kind of excitement about new facilities, new collaborations. Will there continue to be offerings for people who are unable to drive places, kind of stuff along that line, so we'll see.
Okay. Mental health funding and oversight, Elliot.
Mental health, we have divided the 12 agencies into 2 separate evenings. We met both evenings, discussed 6 agencies on each evening. A little shorthanded on the committee, but those who were there were very involved, very attentive. We had very good discussion. Questions are being submitted by Steve to some of the agencies to flesh out a little more information. We've already got 3 nights chosen. We're gonna divide up the 12 agencies, 4 per night. We're going with the new half-hour format, so those will be 3 2-hour sessions to cover all 12 agencies. And we've got a 4th meeting scheduled for decision night, so we're pretty far along.
Wonderful. And I do want to remind everyone, though there's been discussion as to whether or not the advisory committees are subject to OMA, please operate as if they are. OMA and, so ensure that there's a quorum, make sure minutes are taken, agendas are followed. And I've asked Steve to, follow our best practices and record all of those agency presentations. Yep.
Now, a question with regard to the specifics of a quorum, if we have people that have excused absences but have submitted comments, and those comments were all read and discussed by those, would those be considered members present?
It would not.
Okay.
If they can participate remotely via our policy, so not on vacation, but out of town for business, sickness, childcare, right? Then you can have them on a Zoom, right? Or even on the phone, we used to do that. So.
And certainly for agency presentations, we want quorums on those nights, and then obviously on the decision night, gotta have quorum.
And certainly ask that everybody has watched the recordings if they did miss those.
So that's right, it's good to get a couple more members of it, and then will you emphasize that with Steve, that going forward, we need quorums for especially for the actual evenings where the agencies present, and for the.
And definitely decisions, a recommendation.
You can take minutes.
Steve has been, usually he takes the recording.
Yeah.
Depending on his workload, we do use a contract to have the minutes put together.
For the sake of clarity, since we're all in the room, do we as liaisons have the ability / responsibility to vote in any instance? Or do we keep our mouths shut and listen and observe?
You were a part of that committee.
Okay.
We're not voting members of the committee, but we are
We're part of
definitely active members of the committee.
That's literally what I was just asking, if we could.
No, we do not vote.
No.
Thank you.
But you can
Just wanna make sure that we
No
all
need to keep your-
heard the same.
Yeah.
No need to keep your mouth shut.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Like that.
The trustee perspective is invaluable to the committees. They need the trustee perspective and they need steering from time to time.
Whether they want it or not, I guess.
And be reminded of the township's mission and all those things.
Yeah, with the exception, of course, is if you had a conflict of interest and, where our policy says whether you can participate in deliberations. Okay,
And Steve's getting everybody to sign conflict of
yes,
interest.
he has said, so far, he has not received any, negatives, but people are signing that they understand, yep. Okay. All right, Danielle, disability support funding.
Yeah, so that's me. So we did have our first meeting. Unfortunately, due to a conflict, I was not able to attend. But I did read the applications and I read the minutes afterwards. We do, like Elliot, we're dividing it. We reviewed 6, we'll review the next 6. One of the 6 that we have reviewed is Keshet, which is a new organization. So we will be deciding if we should, if the township should award them some money. We do have another meeting scheduled and that's for October 24th.
Wonderful. All right. Trustee Moser, any special projects report?
Not that I'm willing.
We have to still figure out what your special project will be.
I'm willing and able.
Yeah. What do you have thoughts? You've been around for a few years. What have you been dreaming of doing on your off year?
I have to do that.
All right, acknowledgement of staff reports. We've received staff report. If anybody have anything they want to take from a report for discussion?
I just want to point out that, this will be our 3rd consecutive month of new cases in peer jury. It's only been one last month and it'll be at least one in October, but that's 3 good months of new cases, so I think that's very good.
Yes. And I did meet the new chief from Glencoe this morning. He was very interested in hearing more about the peer jury program.
Would you like us to, Brian and I to make a presentation?
Exactly.
And what were your impressions?
Seemed very nice. I mean, this was over the chamber breakfast, but, and then that we have the new, Wilmette,
That too.
the chief, so a lot of change, a lot of opportunity.
Did Glencoe come from within? Did he move up or?
I don't know. Right, I know Wilmette's definitely did,
Well,
but,
that-
any others?
Do you have your successor in mind?
Whatever.
Do you have your successor in mind?
Peter, we're lucky enough to be Grace May's attendance tonight, has 3 good candidates. And I think.
And as we recall, the caucus is just one way to run, so we will allow that to be its
I
own
was asking
separate
about
thing.
your peer jury.
So in Brian's report,
Oh, my-
I want to make a quick correction.
Yes.
The second full paragraph, the new
Order.
bakery in.
Guys,
We can't talk about this on the board. So in the second full paragraph of Brian's report, the new bakery in Winnetka is Hewn, Hewn.
it is.
And the Greeley Drive that he discusses at the bottom of the first full paragraph is underway now. This is going swimmingly. I was hoping that tomorrow we might probe with Melanie on her first bullet point that she attended this Township Communicators of Illinois meeting. And if there's anything that we should be doing that we're not already.
Yeah.
In terms of communications, and then in her penultimate bullet point, she scheduled the clothing drive in November. I wanted to see what our communications plan is on this. And how we're gonna drive people once it's starting to get colder.
Absolutely.
So I feel like there are folks around Thanksgiving who might wanna do that, but we need to drum up business as it were.
Yes, absolutely.
Should we invite Melanie to attend one of our board meetings just so we can ask some questions directly to her?
Sure.
She did not attend all, but maybe once or twice a year.
Sure. And then just to highlight some new programs that she had mentioned, the vaccine clinic, which is taking place next week, that does take the place of our wellness fair that we had done the last 2 years. There have been discussions with the senior center about lagging attendance. We think this will be a better, more focused initiative. So it's not just a fair, right? More action oriented. So if you haven't gotten your vaccines, here's your opportunity. And I'm really excited about the Veterans Day brunch. This will be our first time doing it. We're going to do it at the senior center. I've invited Niles of Northfield Township to join us. I don't think we've heard back if they want to co-sponsor with us. But we're going to be doing, having a lecture on PTSD and veterans. So, and we will provide bagels.
And cream cheese.
Oh, no worries.
Schmear.
Not schmear.
Can I put my 2 cents in about holiday party?
Yes.
So, everywhere that I'm trying to book for a holiday party, most of you guys live in the community, it's like $2,000 minimum. So my thought was to maybe still have it in the evening, still invite your +1, but have it here and I can cater something, make it look holiday-ish, so nobody really feels bad about not being out. I just think it's better financially, and I'll just figure out where to cater from. Because some of obviously with the cost of everything going up, the restaurants use this time as an opportunity to, make more money to use their space. So we don't wanna pay that kind of money. And we were kind of cramped in the space that we were last year, although we had a great time. But some of the things the minimum is like $2,000 for all of us, so.
What day of the week?
December 19th,
And what day of the week is that?
So a Thursday.
a Thursday.
You'd think that somewhere in the township, they'd be thrilled to get a party of 20
Yeah.
on a Thursday.
I've tried cocktails, I've tried small bites, I just think, our space is free.
And we can get more food.
Yeah, and
more comfort.
more opportunity to talk to everybody except, instead of your little small part of the table, so as of right now, the plan is to do it here.
Larisha, I just wanna add, Larisha helped me, and when I hosted the clerks meeting here, I checked place after place, and they're like, we're giving you a bargain, and it was 3 times more than it had been 4 years when I hosted, and it worked out very nice to get people joining.
Dare I suggest a caterer that is outside of the township, would that be forbidden?
Depends who it is.
The folks at Pita Inn provide incredible catering and it is so affordable and so plentiful and delicious.
Yeah.
But I hate to spend our money outside the township, but I'm for the value.
Yeah.
Pita Inn cannot.
That's what we're looking for.
There's a new Mediterranean restaurant.
That's what I was just thinking. I wonder if it'll be open yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's actually not a bad idea.
cause those two, all right, we've got ideas.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Elliot, it's a new trend too for all the groups, like I'm gonna host the top board here in April, so, I mean, it's just perfect.
If value is
We
our
save so
primary
much money
concern,
for tax.
Pita Inn is about the best you can get. The rice, the shawarma, the baba ganoush. I know exactly what to order, I'll let you pick it up with you.
There's an Armenian place.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Robin. Let's get this man some dinner. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Just one, I'm sorry, go on, no, but just a really quick question.
Okay,
It's just simply the next meeting date says the 19th, but on the calendar is the 12th.
let me check.
It's the 19th, we had shifted it because of the toy country, which I'm gonna be attending.
Okay.
Is anyone else gonna join me in
Yeah.
Springfield?
Wanted to be sure which was right.
Well, I'll
Thank you.
represent you well. I might even bring the flag down. They have a flag parade.
And that's.
It is the
I'm sure.
19th, right?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
good.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I'm still seeing if I can pull it off, but we'll see. Really depends on the judges. All right.
We need a second too.
Oh, we need a second on our motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed?
No problem.
Seeing none, have a